Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we're putting on our detective hats to explore the world of environmental disinformation.
That's right. Today we'll help you see through the greenwashing and false claims in environmental discussions.
It can feel overwhelming with all the information out there, especially on climate change. So, where do we begin? Let's start with climate change denial. This is one of the most common forms of environmental disinformation.
Are we talking about people who flat out deny climate change?
Sometimes, but more often, it's subtle. Claims that climate change is just a natural cycle, ignoring the clear scientific evidence that human activities, especially burning fossil fuels, are driving it.
But if nearly all scientists agree, how do deniers keep spreading doubt?
They cherry-pick data, ignore decades of research, and sometimes attack the credibility of scientists themselves. This creates confusion, which delays action.
So how can we avoid getting misled?
By being critical thinkers. Don't just accept data at face value, especially if it's from questionable sources. Look for well-supported, consensus-driven science.
That makes sense. What's the next big disinformation tactic we should look out for?
Greenwashing, when companies try to appear environmentally friendly without making real changes.
Like those eco-friendly plastic bottles that are still plastic?
Exactly. They may highlight one green initiative while ignoring their other environmentally damaging practices.
So how can we spot greenwashing?
Be skeptical of vague claims like eco-friendly or natural, and look for transparency. A good tool is life cycle analysis, which looks at a product's environmental impact from production to disposal.
Okay, we've covered climate denial and greenwashing. What's next?
There's also disinformation targeting environmental regulations, often framed as job killers. These arguments focus on short-term costs but ignore long-term benefits like reduced healthcare costs and job creation in renewable energy.
So we need to question who benefits from these claims against regulation.
Exactly. And be wary of any rhetoric that exaggerates economic doom while ignoring the bigger environmental picture. Speaking of big pictures, what about how social media amplifies misinformation?
Social media is a double-edged sword. While it raises awareness, it's also excellent at spreading disinformation through echo chambers where people only see content that reinforces their existing beliefs.
How do we break out of these echo chambers?
By actively seeking diverse and credible sources of information. Be mindful of your own biases and don't rely solely on what pops up in your feed.
I love that. Awareness and healthy skepticism. What other sneaky tactics should we watch for?
There's also the tactic of manufacturing uncertainty. Those spreading disinformation will exploit the natural uncertainty in scientific research to suggest we don't know enough to act.
But science is constantly evolving. How do we avoid getting caught up in this?
By understanding scientific consensus. When most scientists agree on something, it carries significant weight, even if a few studies might seem contradictory.
It's like trusting a panel of experts over one dissenting voice.
Exactly, and always be cautious of those who cherry-pick data or distort research to push an agenda.
What about personal attacks on environmental activists and scientists?
That's a common tactic too. People who expose environmental harm may face smear campaigns to discredit them instead of addressing their arguments.
So how can we support those under attack?
Be aware of these tactics and call them out. Stay focused on the issues, not the personal attacks.
What about false solutions? How do they fit into this picture?
False solutions like clean coal are marketed as fixes but don't address the root problem. Also, while individual actions are important, focusing too much on them can distract from the systemic changes we need.
Like transitioning to renewable energy?
Exactly. We need collective action, not just individual efforts to make a real impact.
That brings us to normalization, getting so used to environmental degradation that we stop noticing it.
Yes, that's dangerous. We must stay engaged, talk about these issues, and not let them fade into the background.
So, the takeaway here is to stay informed, think critically, and support real solutions. Thanks for watching. Hope you'll join us again soon.